everyone, thanks so much for joining us today on our Boba Coffee Chat series. Please grab a drink and join us in our chat today. So for those who are new, my channel is really about empowering you to live your best possible life and just to help you with any type of information that'll help stimulate you and invigorate you and encourage you to build your dream reality. So today's show is all about making dreams a reality. In a previous video, I talked a lot about how I had studied abroad in Spain and how I'd also gotten my dream internship at Google and eventually ended up working there as well. And so when I actually studied abroad in Spain, and that helped stand me out in the interview process, I actually love the pace of life. It's just so different from UC Berkeley. I felt less stressed. I was still learning a lot just by being in another country and absorbing things. And even when I went for a coffee or I went for a walk, I was still learning and seeing and observing and understanding another culture that was completely different from mine and how I had grown up. And so it was just phenomenal. Like, I loved it so much. I was able to travel around Spain in general, like UK, Morocco, other countries nearby, and just in Portugal, for example, and just love the experience of learning naturally without like trying, right? I just feel like when you're living in another country, it's the best possible experience for learning on the go, right? And being uncomfortable, but also like forcing yourself to go out and meet new people and experience new things and see things from a different perspective. And so once I had done that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need this more. Like I had the travel bug. I was just so happy. And it was really the best time of my life. And so I knew that fundamentally, deep down, I really wanted to move abroad at some point. I really wanted to try a completely different country, a completely different location, and I really wanted to explore something on my own. So the easiest way to do that, from my perspective, is actually teaching English abroad. And so I got a job actually teaching English in China, but then I looked up the pollution rates after getting the job, and I was like, ooh, I don't think I can like survive with asthma. It's gonna get worse. Like I can't, like I've always been really interested in China in general, and I would absolutely love to live there, but I don't think like physically I could handle it. So, and my mom was severely, like strongly against going to Japan for English teaching. She really wanted me to do something else, even though I was like, I think I would enjoy it. You never know, right? It's great to be teachers. Teachers are so amazing. But anyways, she had her own reasons and she really wanted me to look for other options. So I did search for other options. I found out from this wonderful girl who developed this Hafu project. She created this wonderful documentary series on what it's like to grow up as a mixed Japanese individual in Japan. And so she collected all these stories, and I was really keen on interviewing her and trying to understand, why she developed this project and what it meant to her. And she actually told me about the MEXT scholarship. And so she was the one, thanks to her, I was able to learn about this amazing scholarship and find out a way to get in. And, ultimately, to be quite candid, I actually applied twice. My first year, and just so you know, it's a very, very lengthy process because they literally pay for everything. Once you're in Japan, it's the best scholarship you can get for studying abroad in Japan. And once you get it, they will literally pay for everything. But it is like, basically it takes a year from start to finish because there's just a lot of little things you have to do, a lot of paperwork, a lot of details. And so for example, one thing, before you even do an interview at the San Francisco consulate or wherever is closest to you, you have to submit a lengthy application, and you don't actually have to speak Japanese, but you definitely cannot be a Japanese national. They also have undergraduate scholarships, research scholarships, and master's degree scholarships. But the one that they advertise the most is the research scholarship. And so that's the one I applied to. I didn't apply directly for a master's degree. But anyways, it's a very lengthy process. It's a very meticulous application that's quite long. You need references from professors at university, some of your job references. You need proof and validation, like you need an actual certificate from UC Berkeley that is notarized and made sure, it has to be 100% legit essentially. And they want like a lot of different types of paperwork to prove different things. And so essentially, like once I finished the application, I checked all the boxes and I did a 3 by 5 centimeter photo, for example. It had to be 3, like it couldn't be 1.1 centimeter longer. they're very particular and very meticulous on the application. So it is extremely tenuous or extremely difficult for someone from America who's not used to like all this paperwork and details. But anyways, then you do that, and then you have the interviews. And so I had the first time, my application was more, it was just more vague. It was not very detailed. I didn't have an action plan. It was a good idea. I don't really honestly remember exactly what it was, but it had something to do with women's empowerment. But it wasn't very specific. It wasn't very detailed. I didn't have an action plan, like I mentioned. I didn't have a website that I built. You basically have to prove that you are self-motivated, you are very proactive, and you are going to get shit done when you go to Japan. And they really want to see that the research that you're doing will actually add value to the Japanese culture or Japanese society in general. And so I was chanting and working really, really hard on the application, but also I was working full time at the time. And so I did get to the interview stage, and they make you do a Japanese test, even though you don't need to speak Japanese, but it can help your application. So I did the Japanese test, I did another test, I did the interviews, and I just didn't do very well. Particularly because my application wasn't that good, I think. And so anyways, I got a rejection letter, and it was super devastating, but fundamentally, like, I knew that I really wanted to go to Japan no matter what. And it didn't necessarily, originally it didn't necessarily need to be Japan, but like the more that I learned about this scholarship and the fact that I failed once made me, like, invigorated me and strengthened my resolve that I really wanted to get this scholarship in particular, and I really wanted to go to Japan. So I was chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo all the time, constantly attending activities and really trying to support others in their practice, but fundamentally really trying to make sure that I did everything I possibly could to get this scholarship the second time. And so the second time, I did a lot of research on YouTube on how to stand out in this application process. And essentially, you have to create an action plan, or you don't have to, but this is what I did. I created an action plan. So I said, it's an 18-month scholarship or whatever. This is my plan. Every month, this is what I will be doing. Here are the exact things that I will be focusing on. I also did very detailed research and had like very specific names of people I would contact, organizations that were working on women's empowerment, and women entrepreneurs in general, like who I would contact, those kinds of things. And I cited some of the Goldman Sachs, some of the women who are very prominent in society talking about women's empowerment. So I did all of that, had that really strong portfolio of this, of not only my application, but also the action plan of exactly what I would be doing. And I said, hey, guess what? I also have a website where I will be publishing these stories. And it was just a simple Squarespace website that anybody can create, but it did take some work. I put my action plan there. I put my research, the basic, research proposal there. I put all of this information online so that hopefully it could help other people with this application process for the MEXT scholarship as well. And also be a place where I could catalog all these stories of the women entrepreneurs I was meeting. And so that helped me stand out. I was like an excellent candidate now the second time around. Like learnings from the failings and just watching YouTube videos and trying to understand and get information from other people on how to stand out. So that's what I did. I went above and beyond to make my application stand out. So when I was interviewing, for some reason I had 5 interviewers, and they asked pretty tough questions because they're there to, this is a quite expensive scholarship for the Japanese government because they're literally paying you about $1,300 USD depending on where you are in Japan. It depends. Like if you're in Tokyo region, you get a little bit more. Kyoto, you get a little bit more. But in general, you get, let's say, $1,300 to be a research scholar every single month. Plus, all of your school expenses are 100% paid. And $1,300 may not seem like a lot, but your expenses are so low. Like my apartment was about $450 a month. And food is significantly less expensive. And as long as you don't like travel too much internally within Japan, you're still like able to save money. So I was able to save a lot of money and had no problems with that. And then I was interviewing with 3 other people on that day too, all of whom who had gotten past that application stage. And so one ended up becoming one of my best friends while studying in Japan. We weren't sure because, we're competing sort of in a way against each other, but actually we're competing with all of the applicants all around the world. So it's quite an intense application. It's quite an intense process. And we ended up being on the same flight together on the way to Japan too, because they pay for your flight to and from the country as well. And yeah, it was phenomenal. I'm so grateful that I was able to get it because I was chanting Namyo Horengekyo so hard to get this application. And I remember one time my dad, because both my parents were chanting for me and really trying to help me get this scholarship as well. And people in my community, in the Buddhist community, were also really helping to try and chant that I would get this scholarship. And so, just checking the time, sorry. So I was so grateful and so happy. And I remember my father asked me, he turned to me one time and he was like, "Hey, Julie, what is your plan B if you don't get this scholarship?" And I was like, I turned to him and I was like, "There is no plan B, Dad. I'm getting this scholarship." So something in my brain, like I was just so confident and so courageous and like just knew that this was my mission in life, to be able to study in Japan and live there and experience my culture, well, half of my culture, and really get to know my mom's family. So all of that being said, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to, and the reality of making my dreams a reality, being able to get this amazing scholarship to study in Japan, which ended up being about 3.5 years, 1.5 years as a research scholar, and then 2 years for my master's degree. And I also was extended to get a PhD, but luckily I chose not to do that. Unluckily, I think it was the best decision for me personally, because I wanted to come back home. I wanted to get married. I wanted to start working again and earning money. And so all of that, I made the best decision for my life, but I'm really grateful for the Japanese government for offering that PhD opportunity as well. So thank you so much, and I hope this video helps. I'll link to the SF Consulate MEXT scholarship website for you, and hope that helps you in the process. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.